Hello, everyone. Jacquie Edwards here. Thank you so much for joining me today. So, this is live at lunchtime, and I am amazing again this week. And I am live on both Facebook and my Instagram page at exactly the same time. A little bit smoother this week after my practice from last week. But, anyways, this week I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about why I chose rent to rent. Just to see if it resonates at all with your journey, because I know we've all got our own personal reasons for doing rent to rent, but a lot of people get a bit stuck and thinking, well, why would I want to do rent to rent? Why would I want to, do all this work on a property that I don't even own? And so I just wanted to share a couple of ideas and just a little bit of my background and why I chose rent to rent and why I thought it was a great strategy to get started with. So, if you don't know my background at all, I used to be an accountant. So I worked in public accounting, and that's what brought me over to the UK. I didn't like being an accountant, strongly disliked it. So I needed to find something else. So I went into contract accounting for a little while because, hey, what else do you do when you're an accountant? You think, well, I need a bit more flexibility. I'll be a contractor instead of an employee. So I tried that for a little while. That brought me out to Oxford, but honestly, still hated it. I hated going to somebody else's office and doing what they wanted me to do and making money for their business and not having the kind of freedom and flexibility that I wanted. That is a really, really big thing for me, is having the freedom to basically do whatever I want and having that flexibility to be able to, make whatever decision I want to make in that moment and not have to be stuck doing things that just require me to not be flexible, basically. And I know there are always things that we need to do that we don't want to do. It's the same in property, the same with my rent to rent business. But with my own business, I've got a lot more flexibility. I've got a lot more freedom of choice. So there I was, an accountant trying to figure out what else to do. Now, this may resonate with some people, but I am a bit of a shiny penny chaser. So I tried a little bit of everything, a bit of a dabbler. So took some training courses on Forex trading, tried to learn how to do that, a bit of stocks, a little bit of network marketing and MLM business. Honest to God, still think that's a brilliant idea, but I am quite shy and introverted. So it was a struggle for me when they were telling me, oh, go out and meet people and talk to them one-on-one. And it was just a nightmare. I was terrified. It was just too much for me. Then I also, as we do, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad and a few other books and realized that, this property investing thing sounds like it could work. It sounds like it makes sense. And it sounds like, whether that's how you build your wealth through property or if that's where you store your wealth once you've built it, property investing is important for a lot of people, and it's an important wealth investment strategy. So I decided to get trained because that's what I like to do when I want to learn something, is I like to just learn from the best and learn from the experts and get trained on it. So I did Simon Zucchi's 3-day property mastermind course. After attending a few of his PIN meetings, property networking meetings, amazing. Even as a horrible shy introvert, I still got a lot out of them. Did the 3-day course and decided, yes, property investing is for me. Still hadn't decided rent to rent was for me at this moment, but I knew I needed to build cash flow to be able to get out of my accounting work. So I didn't have to be an accountant anymore. That was, at that time, the key driver for me, is I could not be an accountant anymore. I could not sit in this job any longer. So I got trained and then I learned all the strategies. So I was like, I can do all the strategies everywhere, anytime, la, 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 that's me. I'm going to do everything. So I jumped in and started looking at properties anywhere within 2 hours from my house, basically. So, and I was looking at anything. I was looking at 1-bedroom flats. I was looking at 20-bed bed and breakfast. I was looking at absolutely everything because I knew all the strategies. So I was a property investor. I could just do it all. Now, after 6 months, and I still had no deal, and I had seen loads of properties, I had tried really hard to raise finance. Great, the 20-bed bed and breakfast would have made an amazing HMO. The only struggle was it was £500,000 that I didn't have. I couldn't get a mortgage on it because, well, first of all, nobody wants to give me a mortgage because I'm foreign and self-employed. And it was also a commercial property. So it was a B&B. I had no commercial experience. So it just wasn't going to happen. So I tried to raise joint venture finance because everybody says, hey, you get the deal, the joint venture finance will be there. Well, of course, the first question everybody asked was, what's your experience with joint ventures? What's your experience managing HMOs? And me saying, gee, I think I can do it, doesn't make somebody want to give you a £500,000. So we needed to stop and rethink. I mean, honestly, after 6 months, and I was seriously trying property investing, I was really going for it. And I was really disappointed after 6 months and I didn't have any deals. It was hard, and like many of you, and like many people I see, you want it all to happen instantly. And I wanted it to happen instantly. I wanted to, find those properties that everybody was talking about, get those amazing deals. I knew if I just worked hard enough, they would be there. And at the end of 6 months, they weren't. And I felt pretty miserable. I felt like, God, this stuff doesn't work. What am I doing? And that's when I had a chat with my property coach, and he told me I should have a plan. And I was like, I've got a plan. I'm a property investor. What more do you need? But what he meant was like, I need a specific plan. Like, what is my goal and what is my plan to get to that goal? What strategy am I using? Because obviously just using all the strategies wasn't working. So I sat down and I said, all right, my goal is to get income, replace my income so that I don't have to work in my accounting job anymore. And then I looked, all right, what are the strategies that generate cash flow the quickest? So at the time, it was the HMO strategy. Service accommodation wasn't really popular back then. So I was like, all right, I need HMOs. I looked in my area in Oxford. HMOs are super expensive. I already knew I couldn't get a mortgage and that I couldn't raise joint venture finance because I had no experience. So that left me with rent to rent, basically. And so then I looked more into rent to rent. And I said, okay, well, I won't own this property, but I can make, 500, £1,000 a month from this property that I don't own. That's all right. I don't have to spend very much upfront, so maybe an average £5,000. Yeah, that's all right. I've got that money to get started with a couple of properties. I'll make a good amount of money. I will get that experience because, again, remember, joint venture partners were all looking for experience, while me managing my rent to rent properties will give me that experience, and it will give me the cash flow I needed. So I looked at it and say I needed £3,000 a month just to be able to be, financially comfortable. That would be, 5 or 6 properties would get me that much. So I didn't need to do hundreds and hundreds of properties like you would with single lets or something like that. So I said, all right, that makes sense. Let me give this a try. So jumped in, looked at the different areas around me to see where I wanted to focus, decided on Oxford because that is the area that I knew the best. I hadn't lived in the area very long, but I had lived in Oxford for about a year at this point. So I said, all right, well, at least I kind of know where people want to live, where they're working, where the shops and stuff are in Oxford. I'll focus here. So and then we made that our plan. So my plan was to get up to kind of £100,000 profit. So at this point, my husband, or my boyfriend at the time, was interested in property. He didn't have the time, but he had some money to give me. So he was ultimately my first joint venture partner. So we decided we needed to get up to £100,000 profit per annum to make this business worth it for us. Once we got to there, then we would look at starting to buy properties because, again, building wealth in the long term with property is from purchasing properties. That's just how it is, because you gain from the capital and the equity over time. So phase 1, rent to rent. Phase 2 was going to be all about purchasing properties, ideally HMOs because of the cash flow. And then phase 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 years down the road, we would start looking at maybe flips or developments or something like that. So that was my plan to get started. And that's exactly what we did. So I went out there. I had a really specific focus. I was looking for rent-to-rent HMOs in Oxford. That cut out all the faff, all the crap that I was looking at before. So then I was only looking at the houses that could turn into rent-to-rent HMOs. I wasn't looking at flats. I wasn't looking at smaller houses. I was looking at kind of 4, 5, 6-bedroom houses. And having that focus and doing the marketing specifically for that, that's when the properties started to come. So that's when I was able to build up the momentum and build up my property portfolio and get that cash flow. Again, following our plan, built up the cash flow from the rent-to-rent business, built up the business, had a team to help me, again, to give me that freedom and that flexibility that I was really looking for. I had the team to help me. and then moved on to purchasing properties. So we actually just completed today on our 4th HMO property. It was a rent to rent until today, and then we just completed on the purchase of that one. So that's super exciting. It's actually a 5-bedroom HMO, soon to be 6 bedrooms, and it has a separate flat on the back, which in the past we have used for service accommodation. So super excited about that. That property will bring us in, what was it, about £50,000 profit per annum. So it was quite expensive, but it will bring us in a massive profit per annum, which means that we don't need to focus quite as much on our rent to rent business. So our goal again was £100,000 profit per annum. This one property that we purchased will bring us half of that. So we are in the process of rolling down our rent to rents to focus on the purchase properties, which reach us to our goal. And then once that's all in place, then we can focus on our developments or our flips or whatever we want to do. So hopefully that's helped you to just give you a little bit of an idea of my background and why I chose rent to rent and why I think rent to rent is awesome. It is a great cash flow strategy to bring you cash flow quickly to get you whatever your goals are. So if cash flow is and income is one of your goals, then rent to rent is a great strategy for you. If you're not starting with a load of money for a big deposit on a purchase, rent to rent is a great strategy for you. If you can't get mortgages like me, rent to rent is a great strategy for you to get started. Oh, and that's the other key point. So once I'd had my rent to rent portfolio for a while, then I was able to use that as my landlord experience to get a mortgage. So that helped me to build up my mortgage. It also helped me to build up my credibility with joint venture partners. And I've raised over £200,000 now in joint venture funding to purchase properties. So it all just builds up on itself. Rent to rent is an amazing kind of underlying platform strategy. So it's a foundation strategy and can help you build up to wherever you want to go and whatever you want to do in property investing and business. So I think it's a great strategy. I think it's still a very relevant strategy right now. I did just talk about this in one of the videos I recently did. So make sure you check out my 3 free video series if that's still available. And if you want to know more about if rent to rent is right for you, then I have a webinar coming up. So I will pop the link to that in the comments. So definitely check that out. So it's a free masterclass. I think it is Thursday, actually. And there will be another one next week as well. I think Wednesday next week and Thursday this week. So check that out to join me again free. And I will go through, whether rent to rent is right for you or not, plus loads of great information on rent to rent and how to get your business going. So yeah. That's it for today. I do need to dash off because we are I'm in the middle of building a farm and I need to just go make sure that they're putting the flooring on right in our new house because there were a couple of specific things I needed. So I am going to head off. Thank you so much for joining me today. Make sure you check out the webinar for more information and I will see you again in the next video.